Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays for this Week 12 NFL DraftKings main slate. Let's dive right into it. And like I always do here in these videos, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of my cheat sheet, breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays here for this Week 12 NFL DraftKings main slate. But before we dive into the quarterbacks, everyone, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. It's completely free to do, and every like, comment, and sub that you guys leave me truly does help me out here on YouTube. With that being said, let's dive into the quarterbacks, everyone. And the reality is I'm probably going to spend down for Jacoby Brissett here at $5,300. 20 plus DraftKings points in every single start that he's had this year, and he's still too cheap at this price. Based off of how he's been playing, he should be in the 6K range, so this is more than likely the route that I will go. But with that being said, I have tried to make mock builds with both Patrick Mahomes and Drake May. I'll start with Drake May here. I do love this game environment against Cincinnati, and especially with Joe Burrow expected back this week, there's some real shootout potential there. But the reason I like Patrick Mahomes just slightly better is because he has been dominant at home this year. 14 touchdowns in 5 games, essentially averaging 3 per game, and this is legitimately a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs if they want to stay in the playoff conversation. So I like Mahomes here over Drake May, but it is very close. I love the shootout potential in that game between the Indianapolis Colts and Kansas City Chiefs too. I'll be talking about that in my final tournament plays video, so make sure you stay tuned for that immediately following the cash plays. But like I said, everyone, $5,300 here for Jacoby Brissett is way too cheap for a guy that's put up 20 plus DraftKings points in every single start this year. Now, moving on to the running backs, and I hate to say that these guys are locked into my cash lineup here as I record this on Friday, but that's a reality. Jahmyr Gibbs is locked into my cash lineup here this weekend. Sure, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's a great play as well. He's obviously on my spreadsheet here, and I'm going to talk about him in just a few minutes, but Jahmyr Gibbs is sitting in a premier spot here at home against a New York Giants defense that ranks dead last in the NFL when it comes to rush DVOA. I know that Bijan Robinson's going to carry some ownership here this weekend. He's just slightly more expensive, but if I had to pick just one running back to break a slate this weekend, it would be Jahmyr Gibbs. I do like Chase Brown here as well in this game against the New England Patriots. Again, some real shootout potential in this game with Joe Burrow back, and being that Samaje Perine is doubtful here this weekend, I like the volume that Chase Brown is projected to see. And then Travis Etienne is listed as questionable heading into this matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, but assuming that he does play, I really like the volume that he's been getting since their bye. The last 3 games he's played particularly well, and I like that price tag at $5,900. And then a couple of wait and see scenarios here. It sounds like Ramondre Stevenson is going to be back this weekend, but if for some reason he isn't able to play, I do like Travion Henderson here at $6,700. And then if Josh Jacobs happens to miss for the Green Bay Packers this weekend, Emmanuel Wilson at $5,300 looks really nice, and he might be one of the most popular cash game plays if Josh Jacobs does miss. And there's some real doubt that he could not play here in Week 12 against the Minnesota Vikings. He wants to play. If you go listen to his interviews, he wants to play here on Sunday, but that's going to be a coach's and doctor's decision. So something to keep an eye on. But again, if Jacobs does miss, Emmanuel Wilson at $5,300 might be a lock for me as well. Now folks, before we dive into the wide receivers here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, again, I would greatly appreciate that. It truly does help me out every time you guys like the video, leave a comment, and obviously subscribe to the channel as well. And again, I'm very appreciative of that. Heading into the wide receivers here, I talked about Jahmyr Gibbs. Reality is, I love this spot at home here for the Detroit Lions, coming off of a loss against a really bad defense in the New York Giants. When the Lions lose, they rebound very, very well, especially when they're playing at home. And they're a team that doesn't take their foot off the gas either if they're playing with a lead in the second half. So I do believe that we could roster both Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown in our cash lineups. That's obviously very expensive to do. So if we need to save a little money, I do like Rashee Rice here. Talked about it with Patrick Mahomes. This is a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs at home against the Indianapolis Colts if they want to stay in playoff contention. And when the Chiefs are rolling on offense, Mahomes is playing well. It's usually not through their running game. So I would be surprised if Rashee Rice doesn't see double-digit targets in this game. I know it's only $300 in savings off of Amon-Ra, but sometimes that can be the difference when it comes to building out your lineups. And then we're getting to some of the cheaper plays here. I do like Wan'Dale Robinson, particularly like the volume that he's getting in targets. His ADOT is really low. We usually don't get games where he goes for a bunch of receiving yards, but if he can get 7 catches in this game, he should meet value at this price. And then going right back to Michael Wilson here at $4,800. Marvin Harrison Jr. not going to play in Week 12. This guy got targeted 18 times last weekend, and no, I don't expect that again here this weekend, but he could very well see close to double-digit targets once again, and we'll take that here for a guy priced at $4,800. Now, both the wide receivers, both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, sitting in a really good spot here against the Dallas Cowboys defense. I lean towards Smith here. He's not in the media talking about how he doesn't get the ball, but more importantly, he is cheaper at $5,600. And if for some reason Darius Slayton does not play for the New York Giants this week, in which he is on track to play, he had a limited practice on Thursday, have not seen an update here on Friday, but if Slayton happens to miss, Isaiah Hodgins here at $3,300 could be a great value play. We then got the tight ends, and yes, DraftKings is finally starting to price up Trey McBride where he should be, and honestly, he should be in the mid 7K range, so we're still getting a discount in my opinion. This guy has truly been dominant with Jacoby Brissett under center for the Arizona Cardinals. You know, I talked about this in the Cash Plays video last week. We're looking at him as a wide receiver 1 in this matchup. Don't look at him as a tight end. Yes, he goes there. We can put him in the flex there as well if we wanted to within our lineup. But the reality is this guy should be locked into double-digit targets as well come Week 12. If we want to save money, I like Mark Andrews here. The volume hasn't been great with this guy, but he's making the most of his opportunity when the ball is in his hands. And then A.J. Barner, if we're really looking to save some money, $3,300. I like the way that he's been on the field. The snap counts have been up, and honestly, the game logs have not been that bad either. He makes the most with the ball in his hand as well. And then Travis Kelce here. The reality is I'm probably not going to be able to get here in my cash lineup. I would much rather prefer to spend up for Trey McBride. But if I got $5,000 laying around, tight end spot is open, I do like the way that Travis Kelce's been playing too. And then finally here we got the defenses. Again, I'm just going to go with a reality practical situation here. I'm probably not going to be able to spend up for the Seahawks, but if I have the money, they're in a great spot against a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward. Packers taking on J.J. McCarthy. Again, probably won't be able to spend up for the Packers, but they're sitting in a really good spot at home. Against a second-year quarterback, you basically look at it as a rookie quarterback. Browns here taking on Las Vegas. That's a team that we've been picking on all year long. And then if we really need to punt here at $2,500, I don't mind the Saints at home taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks, and let's win some money on this Week 12 NFL main slate.